Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are officially going to have the opportunity to take a look at these newest Primal Attack packs from Mattel for the Jurassic World line. We are obviously, as you can see in front of you, going to start off with the Callovosaurus. But before we do that, I want to say a huge thank you once again to Hatbox Ghost, a viewer here of my channel and a very good friend of mine that was kind enough to acquire these and send them my way for us to review here for all of you guys, pretty much to get a sneak peek of before you can acquire them yourselves. The beautiful new attack packs that have just recently started to hit stores are unfortunately non-existent in my area, but luckily I have friends like Hatbox Ghost that are kind enough to go out, search them out for me, and send them to me here for us to review. So if you do want to thank him, I will include a link in the description to check out his channel, because he actually does a lot of very similar videos to what you see here with Jurassic Park and Jurassic World oriented reviews and things like that. So make sure you head over to his channel, check it out, and hit that subscribe button over there as a thank you for allowing us here to take a look at these beautiful new attack packs. So as I said, the very first one we're looking at is the Callovosaurus, and it's probably my most anticipated attack pack figure in a very long time. You can see that it's basically the normal run-of-the-mill Primal Attack artwork there on the front with the very cool background, and then if we look here at the back of the box, you can see the Ornitholestes, the Herrerasaurus, Callovosaurus, and Dracorex. The back of the box is actually quite different than what we've had previously when it comes to attack packs, because we usually just have a little image down here of what else is included in the current wave, but now we get them up here front and center, so that's really cool. But let's go ahead and break this open and take a look at the figure right now. So here is our Callovosaurus. Unfortunately, we no longer get cards or anything included, which is definitely a bummer. I would have really loved had they continued that little inclusion of cards, but I guess they chose to go a different route now and not include the cards. And at first glance, this looks to be really, really nice. Easily one of the best paint apps that I've seen on an attack pack figure. The sculpt also looks to be really well done, aside from something that is really probably painfully obvious to most people at this point, and that is that the tail is definitely a good bit too short in my opinion, but that's nothing new when it comes to the Mattel figures, as we do get quite a bit of shorter tails on our figures. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it was just an issue with making sure it fit in the attack pack packaging, but regardless, the short tail does have a little bit of a negative side to the figure. It definitely is a little off-putting, but aside from that, I think that it looks beautiful here at first glance, but the only way to truly tell is up close, so let's do that right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see that the head sculpt is really quite nicely done. Beautiful detailing all over the place for sure. I really like the area sculpted out there around the palate. You've got the very nicely done nostrils right up here at the top of the snout. Beautiful detailing around the eye, and the eye itself is painted with a nice yellowish color. A black pupil and looks to be really well done. Definitely placed in the correct spot. You also have really nice, if my camera would focus, really nice kind of fine scaling on the face, and that looks to be really well done also. I quite like the paint application here on the face with this kind of brownish color that circles around the eye, goes and runs down onto the cheek a little bit, and then up to the snout. That does definitely give it a very cool appearance. It unfortunately has a bit of a gloss coat to that area, which I'm not a huge fan of, but at the same time it does still look pretty nice on the figure. I don't think it takes away from it or anything like that. Very nicely painted eye on this side also, again with the yellowish color. For some reason my camera is just having the absolute hardest time focusing on this Callovosaurus, but there you can see the eye does look to be painted pretty nicely. I think that the paint around the eye and everything is definitely done quite well, very natural looking for sure. The beak up here on the snout looks to be painted and sculpted quite nicely. It's painted with like a light blue, whereas the rest of the body is a much darker blue. As you lead back here behind the head, you can see the ear is sculpted out there, and then you start to run down the neck, and you can see that there's other variation of brown, which you see on the top of the head, because it does transition from this brown to a different shade of brown up on the top of the head, and then it runs down the neck here, and it kind of is just splotched in certain areas, which I think looks really cool actually. I definitely love the design of the paint scheme they've gone with. It's quite different than a lot of the other attack packs and in general a lot of the other Mattel figures we've seen, so I really do like the paint scheme they've gone with. As you run down the neck, you can see quite a bit of really nicely done skin texture as we do lead down the neck. You can also get an idea of the throat right there. In the lower part of the neck, it definitely looks to be sculpted out really quite well, and you can also kind of see some of the muscles and stuff flexing in the neck, which looks to be really cool. Beautiful wrinkling and creases in the skin right behind the head as well, kind of showing the movement of the head pushing into the neck a little bit. That's a really nice touch there also. As you get down here, you can see the shoulder blade there. Really beautiful skin texture all throughout the entire body of the dinosaur. I love all the wrinkling and everything of the skin that you see right here and all back in here, really showing again the movement of the dinosaur. That looks fantastic for sure. You can really get an idea of how nice the skin texture is up here on the top also. And look at how beautiful these browns have been applied to the blue. Like, it really does look like a very natural coloration on it, but the way it's applied looks to be applied really, really well. There is absolutely nothing anywhere on this figure that I'm looking at that screams paint. It all screams body color, and I love that. Definitely a really good paint application for sure. As we move down into the front arm here, you can see some really nice skin texture there as well and get a sense of the musculature. And then we look here at the hands. They do look to be sculpted really nicely, those very iguanodon-like hands, and unfortunately we don't have any paint on the nails, but I think that's kind of a given at this point when it comes to attack packs. There's also some really nice muscle tone here in the thigh. As we move down the body, you can also see the calf muscles there. Beautifully done kneecaps, some really nice creases in the skin of the ankle as well, and although there is no paint on the nails, they do kind of appear to have like a gloss coat to them, so they shine and almost do appear sort of like they're a different color, although they aren't. They are actually the same color, but the gloss coat kind of makes them look like they might have a variation of color to them. Once again, you can see just how really nicely done the overall body texture is, the skin texture all over the place, and then you kind of see some of this bluish color creeping in on the underside. And this is one thing that is super exciting to me and really surprising, is the fact that they've included so much paint on the tail. That is so different from your normal attack pack figures, and not even attack packs, just Mattel in general. More often than not, they'll usually stop their paint right around this area, and they won't quite reach the tail, and if they do, it kind of only ends up right about here. But we actually get this really cool design the further out on the tail you go, that kind of has like a striping of like dark blue and light blue, and it looks really, really cool. It's that same similar light blue that you saw in the beak up here, but I think that was awesome. And the overall appearance of it with the dark and light blues here, and then this kind of brown and everything, it all meshes so well together. Such an incredibly cool, very striking appearance to the overall paint application, but at the same time, again, it looks really natural, and the fact that they've included paint on the tail is just mind-blowingly awesome to me. This side looks very, very similar to the initial side that we had looked at, because for the most part, the dinosaur is in a pretty neutral position. Being an articulated toy like this, you're more often than not going to find the figure in a very neutral type of position. The only real difference, I think, would be a slightly different appearance to the positioning of the legs, and that would be the front and back, because specifically, like, the front legs are very different. You can see this one, I think, comes forward quite a bit more, whereas this one's back. But these two, the rear legs, aren't too far off from each other. But regardless, there's not too much difference as far as sculpt or anything on this side in comparison to the other side. You can see it looks just absolutely beautiful on this side, just like it did on the opposing side. The underneath of the animal also looks really, really well done, and there is the Jurassic Facts app code if you would like to add this to your collection. But yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. So let's go ahead and get an idea of what the articulation is like on these newest attack packs. So as far as the articulation goes, you've of course got the articulation of the head, and the head does go up and down quite nicely. And actually, when it's in the different positions, I feel like it does still look pretty natural. Like, that really does look quite nice. And even when it's down, although you do tend to get a pretty big seam here in the neck region, it still does not look too far off. It looks pretty good, so you can actually display it maybe drinking, eating, really pretty much whatever you want, and the articulation works quite well. You've got the articulation of the front legs there, the articulation of the rear legs, and the tail does not appear to be on a swivel anymore like some of the attack packs are, but it does move quite nicely left and right, so you do have that option of articulation as well. As usual, Mattel does not hold back when it comes to the articulation of their figures, and I really, really love that. as usual when it comes to these Jurassic World figures. As far as a size goes, from the tail to the head, you're looking at about 7 inches or about 18 centimeters. And for a height, the highest point would be the head, I would imagine, and you're looking at just under 3 inches or about 7.5 centimeters, somewhere in that range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, and next to him you should definitely have a pretty good idea that as far as a size goes, it's pretty small. These Attack Pack figures usually are, but I feel like this one is actually maybe even a little smaller than your usual Attack Packs. Not by much, but it's definitely a good bit on the small side, but I don't really mind it. I would have preferred it to be a little bigger, but the species itself wasn't very large, so I can accept the smaller size for sure. So as far as this brand new Callovosaurus, the Attack Pack figure for the Primal Attack line from Mattel goes, it is really, really beautifully done. The sculpt and detail on it, honestly, is off the charts, as you pretty much find with every single Mattel release. It is really sculpted quite to the max, I guess you could say. Beautiful detailing, really nice skin texture, and they actually did a pretty good job of showing different areas of like the skin wrinkling and stretching and everything, insinuating movement within the body of the dinosaur. I think that is always a great touch when a company can pull that off, and especially in a figure like this where it's very articulated, it also helps to give it a good dose of realism. The paint application on this is easily one of the best Attack Pack figures that I've seen. There's quite a bit of paint apps on it, honestly. There's 2 different shades of brown and 2 different shades of blue throughout, and that's actually quite a bit more paint apps than you normally get. You also have yellow eyes, so definitely some really nice paint application, and the fact that they've applied paint to the tail just makes the entire figure look so much better than most others when it comes to these Attack Pack figures. I really want Mattel to pay attention to just how nice these figures look when they do include paint all the way onto the tail, and it just creates such a better appearance overall when you don't cut that paint off early. I think that the choice that they made to apply paint to the tail of this just sends this figure through the roof as far as how much I like it. It is honestly fantastic looking. The only issue I think to it, again, is the fact that the tail is definitely pretty small in comparison to what it should be, but I don't really mind it too much because I'm kind of used to it when it comes to these Jurassic World figures from Mattel. For the most part, they usually have somewhat shorter tails, and again, considering it's a Jurassic World dinosaur, it doesn't have to look scientifically accurate because their dinosaurs aren't exactly scientifically accurate, so I can always let things like that slide, but otherwise this is a fantastic looking Attack Pack figure and definitely one of the best that Mattel has ever released. That is easily for sure. So, if you want to buy this, keep checking your local Targets. I don't believe it's online anywhere for sale right now unless you head over to eBay and maybe pay some ignorant scalper that's trying to sell it on there. But otherwise, keep checking your local Targets. It should come into stock soon. But before you run to Target, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.